On today's ISSA Health podcast, we have Dr. Chad Walding. Chad is the co-founder of NativePath, a personalized health and nutrition company specializing in whole food supplements. Chad is a doctor of physical therapy, holistic health and fitness coach, lifetime athlete, and wellness speaker. He's committed to helping people transform their lives through better ways of eating, moving, thinking, and living. As a physical therapist, Dr. Chad has 15 years of experience and specializes in treating the spine and restoring optimal functional movement. He once spent 40 days and 40 nights with an indigenous people in the Amazon to study ancestral and holistic health. Dr. Chad has been featured in Martha Stewart Living, MSN Syndicated, Texas Lifestyle and Travel Magazine, Women's Health, and Livestrong. Chad, we want to welcome you to the ISSA podcast.
What's up, Josh? What's up, Ricky? So good to be here. So good to be here. It sounds crazy hearing my own bio, by the way. It's weird, but thank you, man. I was expressing before how excited I am about this conversation and just really looking forward to it. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's interesting. Like we were just talking before we started, you know, how we met and how long, you know, we've been connected in the health and fitness field. Mm-hmm. And I sort of want to kick that off with what got you interested initially in the health and fitness field and physical therapy? Like, where did your journey start with that?
Yeah. So I've always loved fitness. I've always loved growing up, like in 7th grade, we had like a mile run. And I was like, I love something about this pain that I'm feeling. I absolutely love it because it made me feel so alive. So I was always drawn to physical fitness. And I liked that even more than sports. Like I played baseball, I played football, I played basketball. Those were all fun, but I really loved the training aspect because there was like this point where I would learn about myself. You know, like there was a struggle, there was an uncomfortable thing. And I loved breaking through it and what it would teach me. So that was always there. And I went to college and got out and I was doing finance and marketing. I was working at a broker dealer in Dallas, Texas, and then 9/11 happened and I got laid off. And I didn't like that job at all. Like I did not like that. I didn't like being in a cubicle. I didn't like being under lights. I didn't like being told what to do. I was a terrible employee. And then so that happened and I got laid off. And a friend of mine who was in speech pathology school suggested physical therapy because she knew how much I loved training. Like that never stopped in me. I had a lot of struggles with depression earlier in my life, but fitness is like what kept me kind of grounded and happy. And in a very big way, it was like a spiritual place for me, you know, in terms of like learning about myself. So I was drawn to the physical body and how it moved. I always loved watching swings and throws and part of my training in college, I was always around physical therapists who were working on athletes. So I was seeing like the roles that physical therapy could play in rehabbing an athlete and then bringing them back stronger. I just fell in love with that process. So when that friend mentioned physical therapy school to me, it was like a full yes. Like I don't want to ever work in this corporate world again. I'll help them if they have back pain, but I'm done with this. So yeah, I went to physical therapy school and then started working in the healthcare system. And then, you know, eventually got into things like CrossFit, and that's eventually where I met Josh here. So it's been quite a journey, but fitness has always been like my home, you know.
So you went back to school then. So you already had a degree and then you went back to school for what, another 3 years?
1 year. So to be a physical therapist, you have to have an undergrad degree and you have to have all the prereqs for pre-med to apply to physical therapy school. So I had the undergrad degree already. So I mashed all the prereqs into 1 year. I just went to like community colleges and got them all and then applied to one school and got in. And so that's how I did it. I rushed it. Yeah, but I had no idea I was going to be a physical therapist in undergrad. It wasn't even on my radar. I was thinking like corporate job and, you know, that's what I was told to do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Me and you have very similar backgrounds with that because I got out of school with my bachelor's and I worked for an insurance company as a fraud investigator. And I sat in a cubicle with the lights and the people just sort of like dying slowly. And I was a bad employee. And I spent 2.5 years in that setting. And that was such a drive and motivator to do my own thing and create something from scratch. So Yeah, I can resonate with that.
Yeah, it's not normal for humans to sit all day and just in front of the thing, and just, like, no wonder people are unhappy, you know. And plus we're eating like really bad food and doing things that aren't bringing value. It's an environment more than anything else that's not really set up for health or happiness.
So true, so true. Let's expand a little bit. Like with your PT profession, you have a tremendous amount of experience with this. Like, what has frustrated you, if anything, in that industry? Because I know, and we're going to talk soon on all the other things that you've dived into, and you're very well versed. Like within the PT profession itself, has anything frustrated you?
There's some things within the PT profession, but it's really a bigger conventional system, right? So, and I began asking questions early on when I was doing clinicals. You know, they have us do clinical rotations our last year of physical therapy school, and we can go to different settings like home health settings or outpatient settings or hospital settings. And my first rotation was at a hospital in Houston that was world renowned for its treatment in heart disease. Right. So I was expecting to learn a lot there, and I did learn a lot there. But what I started questioning was when I walked into that hospital on the first day, I saw a McDonald's on the first floor. I didn't know much about like nutrition at that time, like compared to what I do now. But I was into fitness, and I knew that like if I eat shitty food, it's going to affect my health. It's going to affect my performance. And it just didn't make any sense to me why there would be a McDonald's that we all pretty much know at that time, you know, bad oils, sugar, poorly made foods can contribute to disease, specifically heart disease. And why was I treating a person and they would ask me to take them down to McDonald's, and I would go down there and I would see nurses and doctors in white coats. Like it was like a dog eating its tail, like chasing it around, you know, and a lot of money being made, a lot of treatments with symptoms, you know, but not on the root of the problem. So I started from there. I was very much like, I am questioning everything I'm being told from within this box of conventional healthcare. And, you know, in physical therapy school, they told us, no matter what you do not go work with chiropractors. And the first thing I did was I went to go work with chiropractors. and it was great because it opened me up to another perspective of health and treating things. So I was working with 3 chiropractors and me, you know, and working with back pain and neck pain. And I would sit down and talk to the patients. And at that point, you know, I was pretty well understanding that, like, you know, a lot of the physical pains we have, a lot of them come from poor posture, poor movement patterns, imbalances in the body. But when I sat down and talked with these patients and got their history and their story, I kept finding like, oh yeah, I had this pain and I took some pain meds for it. I numbed it. I got an injection for it. I eventually got a surgery for it, you know. And it's like you can kind of sense like there's a thing wrong with conventional healthcare where we've forgotten what the root of the problem is. Like and in many ways, we're causing our own problems and trying to find out solutions without identifying the root. So like we keep taking withdrawals from our health rather than putting in deposits. And here we are, 2021, you know, and this is a health crisis. And it really like, but when I looked at it, like we could see this coming, you know, we could see this coming. It was very easy to see. It was just something was going to bust it. And now we have really compromised immune systems and no discussions on the root of the problem or the importance of food or vitamin D or water or sleep or like none of that, you know, so because it doesn't make any money.
Yeah, because doctors don't even get nutrition training.
They get nothing. Yeah, nothing. And it's just embodiment. You know, like when are we going to have embodiment with our health professionals? You know, we wouldn't go to like a dentist with bad teeth. Like that wouldn't make any sense. You know, but somehow like embodiment has been forgotten because
you are so spot on with that. The dentist with bad teeth, like, right? Like, who are we taking advice from? Like, looking up to. And I posted a few weeks ago, I think on Facebook, and it got good traction. Like, you know, it's not in the government or modern medicine's interest to truly get human beings as a species healthier. It's not in their best interest.
No.
You will have good human beings and you will have people with good intentions, right? And you will have subsectors and this and that, right? So you can argue that so many different ways, but as a collective, as a body, the interest is not there to say, go plant a garden this year and reduce your sugar intake by 50%. That makes
Yeah.
no money.
Nothing. Everybody loses.
Everybody loses. Yeah.
Is joint pain or stiffness affecting your quality of life? I personally suffered from knee and lower back pain from my training and hobbies. Since I started taking a scoop of NativePath's collagen every day, I noticed a significant improvement in my joint health. I am able to do more things I enjoy with those I love and care about. I personally recommend everyone try NativePath's collagen for joint recovery and for a variety of other health benefits. NativePath has generously offered all of our listeners 15% off by simply entering the code AISSA15 at checkout. That's code AISSA15 for 15% off your entire purchase. All of NativePath's products are high purity, organic, grass-fed, and clean. So check out all of the great products they have available at their website, nativepath.com.
Sure.
And I think what we're working out with now is trying to find a balance,
Yep.
you know, and there's definitely a time and place for medical intervention with medicine is appropriate for some people, but like, it's just the foundation of it is not there. And it's what we know in the fitness world are the least things that make the most difference is the way we eat, the way we move, the way we think, the way we live our lives. You know, that's those things are why I created and co-created NativePath. You know, it's what it stands for is a way back to living in harmony with your biology. So we're going through such a special time too, such a great change of transition where so many things are being shown to us and so many different perspectives, so on things. So I always try to listen and respect it.
What do you think is going to be, Chad, a kind of huge aha moment for the collective, the community, the world, right? In terms of the importance of the basic layer of health, right? Like you keep saying sleep, nutrition, movement.
Yeah.
Like, because when the pandemic started, I had a meeting with our team here and I said, this could be a great opportunity for our business to thrive because America is going to get healthy again, right? Because in the beginning, people were talking about boosting immunity naturally. You know, all not the officials that make the decision. I'm just saying people in general, we're talking about that. But it's almost seemed to have gone the other way from a majority standpoint, not all, because I know a lot of people that are now on the other side in terms of, you know, immunity and, you know, healthy eating and all of that. But I don't see the tipping point that I thought I would have seen with this, like make America healthy and strong again. I haven't seen that.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
I haven't either. It's like when you ask me that, like, I'm not sure what it will be other than like, it comes down to the person listening to this, right? It comes down to that person and the choices they make. Like it's not, we can't wait for like radical upheavals or anything like that. It really comes down to this one person, like you listening to make good decisions and live a certain way such that like your health is so strong, your immune system is where it needs to be, and making changes in that way, because like so much has to change, like the food system in particular, the way we eat food, the way we relate to soil, that's like the key thing that has to change. Like mono agriculture has to go, because that's very poor nutritious food, highly toxic, but it's also killing like the soil. You know, it's killing all the microorganisms and the biome of the earth and the insects and the birds, and like there's a system out there that's much more intelligent than we are. And we're trying to figure out within this box, but this system like has been going on for a long billions of years. So like we have to align with it, you know, somehow we're going to have to find harmony with it.
So accurate with that. And, you know, I started about a year and a half ago researching heavily like glyphosate, the Roundup chemical, and a lot of the damage to microbiome with these chemicals that we're ingesting, right? And now, you know, we are promoting like grass-fed meats and healthy soil, healthy air, you know, beyond organic vegetables, all because I think that, and Dr. Zach Bush talks about this a lot. Zach Bush, I follow all his stuff.
He's fantastic. He's
fantastic. And he is way ahead of the curve on this, but our barrier between the external world and our internal world is deteriorating because of our gut lining, leaky gut syndrome, all this inflammation, chronic disease. That barrier is going away due to the pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, dirty water, chlorine, fluoride, right?
Yeah.
And we have a sick environment, we know. I don't know many people that would disagree with that. That is not healthy, but our inside is now connecting to the outside too easily. And we've sort of taken away a big immune function there. And I feel so much of that is through food. And it's not a matter now, and I want everyone listening to this to realize it's not a matter of just eat vegetables and meat. It's eat quality vegetables and meat from good soil, healthy animals, right?
Yeah. It's all of that. And when I'm going back to the question you also asked of like, what will it take? Have you ever heard of Pottinger's cats? Have you ever heard like, so he's Henry Pottinger, I think was his name. And he did a study back in like the 50s, I believe, on cats. And he separated cats into two groups, and he gave one group of cats raw milk, like cats are supposed to drink, right? And then they had kittens and gave those kittens raw milk, and they had kittens like with 3 generations down, like no problems at all with anything. And then the other group, he gave them some modified stuff, some conventional milk that had pesticides and herbicides, and I forget exactly what it had, but it wasn't its natural state. And then after 1 generation, they started finding some defects in the kittens, and after 3 generations, they had even more like dental malformations and brittle bones. And after that next generation, they could no longer produce anymore, right? And like, as far as like what it's going to take, and this sounds like terrible, but I view this at this time right now as a filter, right? I think we're going through a limit situation. It's how evolution works. And it's like nature's way of like saying, hey, either you're gonna get in line with us, or we're gonna do some things to get you in line and make some changes, right? So I think that that's possible, that like a certain section of the human species will live in a certain way such that it will eventually lose its ability to reproduce. You know, I think that's a possibility. And then the people that are living more in harmony with nature, who are strong and resilient and aligning themselves with it, will continue on. And then there will be a blossoming, right? Because there will be a new generation with an understanding of, oh, we have to do this.
Yep.
You know, we have to live in alignment with the universe, so to speak.
Yep.
You know, and that's a whole realm of like a different way of living, and a whole definition of health that like we've not even understood before. And it goes to like all this Zach Bush stuff where he talks about the 5th extinction, right? It's just right there. It's the filter.
And I listened to Zach yesterday, actually, and he said right now 1/3 of humans are infertile. So we're at 1/3 cannot reproduce.
Yeah. I was going to ask about that, if there are any signs already, because I knew that sperm count was going down over time.
Yeah, so in this podcast, Zach said currently it's 1/3. He didn't break it down male or female. It was just one or the other. It was a total of 1/3 could not reproduce. And he had said that when this 3rd generation, so our parents were that 1st generation of what they call Roundup babies, okay? Because Roundup was introduced in 1974, the toxic chemical glyphosate. They had us, we're the 2nd generation of Roundup babies. Zach said the 3rd generation, which is funny, Chad, because you were talking with the cat study. It's very similar.
Yeah.
With humans, the 3rd generation so it'd be our kids of Roundup babies, are going to have near 80% infertile rates. And then at some point past that, we will not be able to, and Elon Musk talks about this, the number 1 threat to human civilization is not having enough humans. And so this next one after this 3rd wave, which again would be our kids, will be 80% won't be able to have children. And it gets to be very interesting when we start looking at someone like, well, the 3 of us, like, why is that, right? And environment, lifestyle, right? Activity, food, chemicals, like go on. And you know, I really had my eyes open when I heard Elon and then Zach and now you talk about that 3 generation cycle. That's scary.
Yeah. It's highly concerning. And it's also in line with like, you know, like one of the first things I started kind of noticing when I studied ancestral health, you hear it a lot, is like the rate of heart disease has gone up in the past 100 years. The rate of diabetes has gone up in the past 100 years, obesity. cancer, Alzheimer's, they're all going up. But as we move further away from the way our biology is expecting us to live, and we continue to like look at these problems, these diseases that pop up, and like, oh, pills, injections, shots, like, but not thinking about what's causing it, you know. And so we're missing the mark. So if we keep moving that direction, that is the direction of not being able to reproduce. And all of a sudden you've got some humans going, hold on, what just happened? Where's everybody at? You know? what did we do wrong, and what can we do right moving forward? So then there will be a new agreement with how we live, I think. Now that may happen, it may not. I don't know. We live in a totally uncertain universe. We may end up in the Matrix. That's totally possible. I have no idea. You know, that and if that happens, that happens. You know.
Yeah, we may be slaves to artificial intelligence. You know.
Yeah.
Like you don't know. It truly is unknown. And you know what's interesting, because we're sort of going out on a limb here with the unknown and unpredictable stuff. And I enjoy those kinds of guesses and hypotheses. One thing I am predicting is self-sustaining communities. 150 people and under are going to start to grow. And if you Google either Chad or Ricky, self-sustaining communities, and start looking into what's already being done, it'll blow your mind. I'm talking about communities that are on 100 to 600 acres. They have anywhere from 100 to 800 people, eco-friendly housing, gardens, shared roles, bartering, off-grid, passive solar, clean water systems, and they are operating with like an Amish lifestyle in modern times. But it's not just for what you would call hippies or people that are social outcasts. I'm talking like there are a lot of wealthy self-sustaining communities. There's one particular one in Oregon that is really like, these are blowing up. And I get excited about it because we live around a lot of Amish around here. And I've been saying for years, they're doing so much right.
Right.
Yeah. And now granted, I don't want to go back to like horse and buggy and, you know, walk barefoot 12 months out of the year. Like, but I feel in my heart and my gut that is where you're going to see. And like you said, Chad, maybe like a division, right? I think you're going to see that. And it's already happening. It's happening all over the place.
Yeah. What's funny, you've been hearing about that too, and I've been hearing about it. And I'm looking to like one day be part of it. I want to live in something like that, but also like help create it. I want to do more of it. I want to buy some land and like help develop that stuff, because that is exactly, you're right. I mean, that is what's going to do it, because that patch of soil will be healed. That community won't rely on external sources, so they'll be more resilient and more sustainable. And then it also like just brings in the community aspect, you know, like living with a tribe, you know. And I mean, our modern culture, like people will have people living all around them, but they don't know them. There's no connection, you know, there's no face-to-face anymore. It's all digital and separation. And we crave community and connection in that way.
I think we are so socially isolated now that it's so sad. And I think that communities like this can bring back that social piece that we're missing out on. Loneliness is the number one cause of depression. You're lonely. You're internally lonely. Whether you have 10,000 friends on Facebook or 2, you're still lonely. And I see a future with that. I also see within those communities, like schoolhouses, like schoolrooms, right? Like we used to have, like small private education, right? I see that because I assume can all agree that the public education model is designed around the 70s and 80s, around manufacturing, right? You know, and the other thing is the food aspect of these communities. The average food travels 1,500 miles to get to the grocery store. And 9 out of 10 farmers don't feed themselves off their own farm.
Wow.
That's disturbing. Like you have a thing of broccoli and that thing had to travel on average 1,500 miles to get to your plate. Like that's not normal. And you know what? That's not sustainable.
It's mono agriculture, you know. And one of the things Zach Bush always says is like nature loves diversity. And if we just have one crop, like all I'm growing is corn and nothing else, and everything else that's not corn has to go, it's got to die. So we have just soil and water and corn and like whatever fertilizer in there. It's not gonna be good. That's not good for anybody, anything,
No.
you know?
I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more. Chad, what connected you to your experience in the PT world and now whole food supplements? I know your company is, collagen products and, a whole host of really cool things. Like, what was the aha moment or the connection there for you?
Well, our roots started in food. Like we got our traction as a company with something called the Paleo Secret 30-day challenge.
Yeah.
So, when I was working, I worked as a home health PT for a long time, and would go to people's homes who had heart disease and cancer and diabetes, and I would go into their environment and see what they were eating, and drinking and what they were watching on TV. And when I was doing that, I was in my car at least 4 hours a day, always listening to nutritional education or business education, but I was listening to nutrition a lot. I was going through like a PhD in studying nutrition, listening to guys like Rob Wolf and Chris Kresser, and over and over and over again. I would take notes, and I started giving presentations at CrossFit gyms, became really passionate about it. But anytime I talked about it in the conventional healthcare world, I would get in hot water. So there was a motivation there to create change in the right avenue. So I eventually met my business partner, Chris Clark, who's amazing and brilliant marketer. And we teamed up and created the Paleo Secret 30-day challenge, where people could go through a 30-day experience where they would eat whole real foods for 30 days and got amazing changes. Like we created, we have thousands upon thousands of testimonials, and it was great for me because I did it all from my computer. It was very like low impact on me, but a huge change. So I saw the power of the internet to connect us and make these changes. So we really got a lot of traction with that, and we kept noticing that there were other deficiencies in the modern world because of the way we've been eating relative to what our bodies are expecting. And collagen was like numero uno. It showed up all the time because our ancestors would eat nose to tail. They would eat all parts of the animal, the intestines, even the tendons, ligaments. They would eat more of that. And in our modern culture, we're not getting near enough. So we saw collagen as a way to invite people into our world. Collagen is amazing because it has like an intelligence behind it. It knows where to go in the body. It helps people's tendons and ligaments start feeling better. Their skin, they start to see immediate results, and they start asking other questions like, what else do we have to offer? So, that's really our goal, is to provide programs and supplements. We have so many great things like native defense for your immune system and krill for your cardiovascular health. And we're coming out with all these other things to help you sleep, and we're getting into food, but it's really to provide people a way to get back into harmony with their biology more than anything else, so get out of the matrix.
Yeah, and food nowadays is in so many cases is nutrient deficient.
Yeah.
Right? And so they're saying that over the first 2 weeks that vegetables pick, that it's taking from the time it goes from the ground to the grocery store, it loses 85% of its nutrients.
Yes.
And so that's sort of where supplements come in. And I take collagen. I'm a big fan of taking supplements in general. I don't think that you can supplement your way out of the basics.
No. Right.
Is a big, it can really, poor marketing will tell you that, right? Like it'll say, take this and your life will be this, when we're ignoring the obvious, food, sleep, movement, right? But supplements fill a great void, void with that. Yeah,
it's like you said, like no matter, you could be eating what you think is a perfect nutrient dense diet, but it's still, like you say, it takes a while to get to you. It's not grown in the perfect way, no matter what, really. And supplements help make up the difference for really like a lifetime too of probably not eating ideally, so there's some catch up that has to be done. So yeah, that's where they play a role too.
What are your top 3 supplements that you sell and recommend? I know it varies, I'm sure. The person, their background, the condition, but like in general, like the top 3 bang for your buck.
Yeah, so number 1 is definitely collagen. That's how what we do on the front end. That's how people find out about us. It's people's like least invasive way to get into our world. So that's for sure like what it is. After that, it varies from the time of the season. Like right now, Native Defense, which is our immune boosting formula. So it's really great for everything that's going on in the world. It's got all the things that help you stay healthy while this threat is out there. So it has vitamin C, vitamin D3, zinc, quercetin, elderberry, Siberian ginseng. So that's number 2. And I'd say number 3, that varies too, but native nutrients and MCT oil are both really great. Native nutrients is our greens formula. It's like a multivitamin just mixed with water. And then I love MCT oil powder rather than the liquid because of digestion reasons. But it's another great thing to add to your coffee or tea. It's really good for energy and your mood and helping your body start to utilize fat as fuel.
Totally. Now, you said powder for MCT oil.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that. Explain that. Like I have taken MCT oil in an oil, but so there's a powder now.
There's a powder, yeah. And I personally like it better because when I take the oil, it is like I have to go to the bathroom like 2 seconds later. It's almost too much because the body can't process it. So we found out about MCT oil powder and I started trying it. I was like, I like this a whole lot better because I don't have that gastric like release that happens so quickly. And my body absorbs it better. I'm more energetic, more alert, more awake. So I prefer it. Also, it's kind of like a cream that doesn't have any sugar in it. It's a little creamy in the powder form. So it mixes really nice in the tea and the coffee. It makes it taste a little better. So I like the powder.
So for people listening, MCT oil, that's a derivative or a component of coconut oil. Is that correct?
Ideally, yeah. Ours is from coconut. You can get it from palm oil too, but we chose, there's a lot of ethical reasons and environmental reasons around palm oil. So we get ours from coconuts.
Yeah, and I found that that's a great supplement for people on keto or those that are looking to go lower carb and want more energy and more calories in their diet. The MCT oil fills the void big time. You put it in coffee, like Bulletproof Coffee.
I do. Yeah. I like a little bit of collagen, a little bit of MCT oil powder. And then I still like to do a little bit of butter. Yeah. And like if I can get some goat butter, that's the best. And then put a little almond milk in there, stir it up, cinnamon on top. I mean, that's so good. I'm actually having it right now.
That's awesome. Well, I want to spend a good portion of this chat, and I think a lot of people are going to find this fascinating. It was your experience in the Amazon jungle. 40 days, 40 nights with an indigenous tribe, right? Like not connected to the real world, or I guess you could say your normal world. I don't know, like let's dive into that.
Oh, let's do. I love it. Yeah. So I guess I'll first talk about, I'm fascinated with human evolution, the universe, where we came from, how we got here. I was very into the paleo movement but really just interested in how we lived for so long, hundreds of thousands of years. And because I see a big correlation between that and where we could be pointed to with our health. And I kept finding aha moments. So through meeting people, the right circles, right time, an invitation came to go live with this indigenous tribe and do a sacred rite of passage. It's called a dieta. It's like it's a process that you're taken through, and the intention really is to be a period of study. It's a study of the tribe and the stories and the prayers of the tribe. It's also a study of yourself, who you are, how you want to be. And it's very much a spiritual training, so we go to the gym to train our muscles, put some resistance on there. This is the same way, putting some resistance on your spirit and giving you an opportunity to choose how you want to show up during this rite of passage. And I think rite of passage, and I was so grateful because this was really done in a traditional way. It's done in the way it's been done for thousands of years. I'm a firm believer that we need rite of passages for people in our culture. We can come back to that later, but it's something we're missing. And I think because of that, we have a lot of people who haven't gone through these things. They haven't built up enough internal strength, enough spiritual force. And so we have a lot of in our society, in my viewpoint, a lot of people who haven't gone through that, and there's a lot of responsibility that we've been given off. We're losing the ability to lead and take personal responsibility. So these practices, these rite of passages, these dietas are very much about training the spiritual side of ourselves.
Give us some examples of that, like rite of passage and training. Like what does that look like? Like, you found a great connection. They get you in. It's a really hard few days of travel. You get there, it's hot, muggy, right? And then it's like, to me, I'm like, I don't know, what do you do? What's it look like?
Yes. And I have to be in integrity with myself and the tribe, but I want to make sure that like there's a lot of things that we were asked to kind of keep private, because it's really special. So I'll share from what I feel is right and appropriate. And what happened with us is we there's the village that we were at. It took like 4 days to get there. There's no connection with the outside world, like you said. And you mentioned earlier community. So we show up at this village called Matum, and there's about 150 people that live there. And there's a little body of water in the middle. There's probably maybe 10 huts all around this body of water. There's a temple, there's a fireplace, and there's people everywhere when we show up. There's children, there's elders. We have a ceremony at night. We're under the stars, under the moon. There's people playing music like for 8 hours. I mean, from like sunset to sunrise all night. It's amazing. And then we're there for a couple of days, and they take us back to begin our dieta. It's like the sacred rite of passage. And this place is more deep in the jungle. And we all have our own huts, like with just nothing but jungle all around us. No door, no window, just a hammock and a little net to sleep in. And, when the dieta begins during the 30 days, very little to drink, very little to eat. Right. And what happens, you go in a pretty severe state of fasting. And the training aspect really comes from how you show up during that dieta, because what they say over and over is, you're going to be hungry, you're going to be thirsty, you're going to have to still show up to these ceremonies that we're doing, still take notes, still listen, still be strong. They kept saying like, weaken the body, strong in the spirit, weaken the body, strong in the spirit, weaken the body, strong in the spirit. How are you going to show up when you find this period, this moment of uncomfortableness? How are you going to show up? And they would say what this period is, these 30 days, is very much like fertile soil, right? You can plant seeds. What the seeds you plant here during this period will be the seeds that begin to blossom through the rest of your life. And you can plant seeds of negativity, complaints, victimization, seeds of anger, seeds of just shame and guilt. You can do all that if you want, or you can choose to be firm. You can choose to find harmony and acceptance and self-love and self-appreciation and service, being of service, and plant those seeds. And if you plant those seeds will grow, and they will show up in the rest of your life. So they were saying all this. I was really feeling this, really, really, really feeling the power of what that was. And it was very real to me. So I set like all my intentions, all my strength during the periods of hunger and dehydration, and still showing up and still taking notes. And it was powerful. And the environment took some time to get used to, for sure, because being in the jungle, like by myself with nothing but nature, and just the jungle in general is an intimidating place for me at first. I've never been around something like that. That was like, especially at night, like the jungle gets really loud. there's like all these critters and things walking around, and I was like, wow, I don't know if that's a snake or a jaguar, or I'm just holding my machete, so like really feeling a visceral, like primordial fear that I don't think I ever really felt in a real way, but my concerns were not like, do I have to pay the bills? What do I have to do for work tomorrow? I was like, all right, how am I going to like just be with this and like sit with this right here, right now? And I felt alive. You know what I mean? I felt alive. I felt an aliveness that like, I don't think I've never felt in modern culture. So I was getting closer to an internal state, an internal feeling of the way our ancestors were living.
Yep.
And it took a few days, but like after a while, after a while being in the jungle and just being away from civilization, there was this relaxation, this settling in, this like calming, and this presence that I've never felt before in modern culture. And it was like, oh, this is our natural state where we're actually super calm most of the time, and only needing to go to that aroused fight or flight state when I'm going after something. So that was an aha moment too, you know, in a major way. So I continue to learn so much about that process, about myself, and all the study. And singing has become like a major passion of mine. I mean, this whole tribe, I mean, everybody in the tribe sings. So, I mean, the children sing, then they have these, they call them cites, the a cappella songs without any instrument. And they've been singing these songs for, thousands of years, passed down from generation to generation, never written down, only heard orally. And that's what we would do, is we would show up to these campfire little ceremonies and listen to these songs and record them and go back to our huts and write down the phonetics and study them and come back and sing them for them and get critiqued, you know. And singing has become a passion of mine. I recorded everything. I studied all their songs. I love it. I picked up the guitar, you know, and it's become a big part of my life. And I approach music in the same way I approach fitness back in the day, with consistency and discipline and always improving, you know.
It's interesting how you bring up they spent the majority of their day calm and relaxed, and then there would be a portion that would be maybe higher intensity, right?
Exactly.
Our society is reversed.
Totally reversed.
So it's sort of like, whether it's cognitive, physical, or a combination of both, we're sort of on this high alert. And I think most people don't even realize they're on the high alert, but high alert, and then you're super chill and calm maybe in the evening or maybe first thing in the morning, right? Or on weekends, but we're out of that rhythmic balance that you experienced, right?
Totally.
And that had to be hard coming back, because I've been to Costa Rica 4 times, and the Tico way of life down there is very zen. It's called Tico time, where things slow down. And people aren't as much of a hurry. They think we're crazy when we visit there, because we're like, blah, 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 and we're just going, you know? So when I come back from those trips, coming back, it's like a bomb went off, like back to reality. And so, like, did you, when you were acclimating back, like, because 40 days is a lot longer than my 10-day trip or something. So how was that? Like, what did that feel like? And
I had the hardest time. I had the hardest year after I got back, to be honest with you. Wow. It was extremely challenging. Yeah. I went through a lot. First of all, I went through a lot of physical challenges. I did bring back some health issues.
We're going to talk about that. We're talking about that.
Yeah. But being around the notifications and the email and the technology and the screens and the fast pace, it took a long time to get used to, and the integration aspect was challenging. And they told us that it would be, but it was even more challenging than I thought it would be. But it's also taught me how to work with both. You know, how to, you know, you hear this term in the Bible, it's like, be in this world, but not of it. You know, it's like how to be anchored in a really calm, relaxed place, but still be okay and present to everything that's happening, and work with it, because there's so many things that I now feel called that I'm here to do. You know, and there's a sense of purpose. It's to help people return back to their natural state. But in order for me to do that, I have to kind of be the bridge here. You know, I have to myself be anchored. I have to myself be really calm and present. So, you know, practices like meditation and breath work and playing music and going out in nature for hikes, and still being here, and also anchored to more of a natural state with nature.
Yeah, I think that's huge for people listening, like what you just gave as tips, because it's something that I struggle with, and I would wager that a lot of people do. How do you stay calm in the chaos? Because I know what you're saying. There are days that I have so much going on and things are going crazy, but mentally I'm super calm and I'm like in flow, and it's great. Other days it's like, whoa, mentally off, shit's going all over, and it's just, you're out of that flow. That is such a deep practice, an important practice because we can't all move to Costa Rica or the Amazon jungle, right?
No.
So
We're here.
we're here. And so the coping mechanism, like, nature, meditation, breath work, I think that is a huge component that needs to be integrated into people with a focus on learning to stay calm in the chaos.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And that's what like breathing, I think is like foundational, teaching people how to breathe through their diaphragm. I'm real big on, diaphragmatic 4-4 breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. And then I'm also big into cold plunges, cold showers, because those are great ways to train the nervous system.
Yep.
Like you feel some stress and it's like, oh, how am I going to be with this? How am I going to relate to this? Am I going to, it's just more stress, but surrendering to it, relaxing to it. Same exact thing when there's fire at work, when there's something that needs to be put out or this isn't going as expected. Like how am I going to relate to that? How am I going to approach it? Because if I approach it with fear and anxiety, I tend to make mistakes. It tends to create more problems. But if I'm calm and relaxed and clear and aware, the solution's very clear,
That cold water piece you brought up, like Wim Hof and that whole arena, that's something as a child I've never stopped doing. I will jump in cold water any chance I get.
Yeah.
Sort of like a joke within our family, it'll be like October and we're on a hike and I know we're going to go by a lake and I'm like, I'm throwing my swim trunks on and a towel. And you know why I do it though? And people I'm sure think it's weird or whatnot. I do it because it's uncomfortable. I do it because I don't want to do it.
Yes.
And then there's a sense of accomplishment after that I feel great about it. And the fact that, and I hopefully maybe you two can help keep me accountable as we all get older, but I refuse to let my mind scare me out of something that I know I should be doing, whether it's jumping into cold water, public speaking. I could go a whole host of things. We're all nervous about things, right? But I keep telling myself, jump in that fucking water.
Yeah.
Do it. And like do it again next week. And then when you're asked to speak at a funeral, for 2-3 minutes on someone who your instincts like, no, we'll run for cover. And I'm like, fuck yes.
Yes. Yes.
That is something that in the cold water thing, I really relate to that because when you're in the shower and you turn it to the cold side, you don't want to do that. There's nothing in you that's like, yeah, this is great, feels awesome, like making my day. It sucks.
Yeah.
But there's a benefit afterwards that is calming and like it's addicting. So
yeah. Well, I think what you're getting at there is the same thing that they were telling us, like this, when I say like the spiritual training, you're talking about the method of training yourself spiritually. With these little pulses, with these little practices of here's an uncomfortable thing. My mind does not want to do it. I'm literally feeling fear and resistance inside of me for doing this thing, but I'm making my mind a servant to my consciousness, to my heart, and saying, I am going to do this.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm willing it. So we're getting power over this mind that has these habits, these habituations, and wants comfort. So I think when we get power over that, we become more expansive as individuals. We become more powerful and in control, And these are uncertain times, but I think it's also like, how can we fortify ourselves? How can we? What can we control? And we can control a lot more internally than I think we're let on. It just takes doing what you're talking about there in these little trainings that you can do with like cold plunging or breath work or any uncomfortable situations, and it builds courage too.
It builds courage, and the more we stop seeking more comfort and pursuing discomfort, I think that could have a massive effect on a lot of people's confidence, courage, immunity, resilience, right? Like how much resilience are we lacking as a culture now?
So big, such a big part of our health too. Like having resilient bodies, It's one of the things I like about cold temperatures is like, in our modern culture, not only are we eating really processed foods, but we like it 70 degrees, and there's we don't like it 95 degrees or too cold, but we're missing out on what nature would would naturally give us. They would give us hits of winters and summers, and we would be exposed to it. So we're missing out on that.
There will be nights that I live on a really windy hill here in the Northeast. And so we get like 120 inches of snow and wind and all of that. And so there would be many nights that right before bedtime, I'm like, I'm trapped, like I'm ready to go upstairs, and I will go stand on the front porch in boxers for 10 minutes. And again, it's weird. I don't even have a reasoning behind it other than I sleep like a baby. I don't know the correlation there, but I sleep really heavy after that. But it just sucks. It's just comfort. It's like, man, I'm 4 minutes in, and your brain saying, go back inside. You're crazy. And on the other side saying, fuck no, dude, you got 6 minutes. Don't go back inside. And that's that voice that I want to keep winning. That voice. The other voice that I experienced this very deeply was 2 years ago. Co-Movement had a retreat in Costa Rica. We had 18 people go down, and it was super awesome. It was in Nosara. And one of the participants that signed up to join us down there was a free diver. So he dove super deep depths on his own breath. And he put me through a free diving breathing routine. And it was ultra deep, like in the jungle, by the ocean. We had this view, and it was just me and him. The sun is setting, and we're on this timer, nose plug. And we did numerous cycles for like 40 minutes. And I was up to like, I think it was like 3 minutes and 10 seconds of breath holding, like straight up breath holding. And then you come out and you're like, you were so oxygenated in flow that it was like a drug. It probably maybe was the same as that. I'm not sure. And so, but that was something that was another one of those awakening moments where it was like, breathe, bitch, breathe. And like, I've got 15 more seconds, and you're just in, and and you're in that, and then breathe, right?
I mean, I love the breathwork training, like with all of that stuff, and like to me, it's all about expansion. Like, how much can I inhale? How much can I exhale? And like just rinsing every cell in your body, moving carbon and carbon dioxide and oxygen all throughout the body, and the states that we can go to, these altered states, of like with just breath work alone. I think breath work is a wonderful thing for everybody to do.
Hicks and Gracie, one of the world's top jujitsu experts. Do you need something, Chad?
I was going to show you my snorkel. I know what you're going to do.
With Hicks and Gracie?
Did you hear him talk about the snorkel?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've been trying it. I've been making jokes about it too, like because he goes like, he says when you're just doing the cold plunge with your head above the water, it's very physical, very emotional. But you put on the snorkel, you feel like you're going to. It's like you feel like you're going to die. It's true. I do.
You've been doing that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so explain to people listening what that is, because where we get it, but explain that.
Yeah. So this is all coming from Hicks and Gracie. You can listen to Joe Rogan episode. The first 3 minutes he talks about this, and he says what he does to make the cold plunge more challenging and more of a spiritual training is wear a snorkel and put his head underwater for the period. So he does usually like 2 to 3 minutes. So yeah. As soon as I heard that, I've been cold plunging every day for a long time, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it. I think it'd be easy, and I put it on, and I went under, and I was like, holy shit! This is the next level. This is totally. First of all, just wearing the snorkel alone is different because you have to adjust how much air comes in and out. I can't. It's less air. So there's a challenge, there's a more higher level of resistance on the bar. So I've been trying it, and the way I'm not there yet. I'm not where I can do 3 minutes underwater. So what I have to do is like pulse it. I'll go under for 10 seconds, and I'll come up, and I'll wait, and I'll go down again. So I'm working on building my times under, but I will get there. But it is intense, man. Yeah, it is for real.
Well, think about when you do a cold water plunge. Your instinct is to get above water as fast as possible and then start breathing heavy, right? You're just acclimating. But if you don't have that relief, It's like running through a flame or hanging out in the flame.
Yes,
You're hanging out in that water. And yeah, so his new book, Breathe, right? I don't know. Have you read Hickson Gracie's new book, Breathe?
I haven't.
I haven't
I
either,
haven't.
but I want to. But it's interesting in the talks he's had with Joe Rogan and Jocko, a lot of his success he attributes to proper breathing. And
Mhm.
meanwhile, this guy's a total killer, and he is like attributing it to something as simple as breathing,
Totally. Yeah,
So
the best breathers. I mean, he said it in the podcast too, but the saying that you can go 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, only 3 minutes without air. But the quality, we talked about the quality of our food, the quality of movement, but the quality of our breathing is numero uno. And because it impacts the nervous system, and the nervous system impacts everything, So being able to manipulate the breath is to manipulate everything. It's the most powerful thing.
Absolutely. Ricky, how are you doing on time, buddy? On your end, are you good?
No, actually, I think I have to step out of this one.
I guess so you said that you got sick. I followed that you contracted, was it a parasite in the jungle? Was that?
Yeah, well, I got E. coli and I got MRSA, so both of those together. Like the last day I was there, I started breaking out. I had a little wound on my ankle, and then another wound, like kind of like an ulcer, started popping up. I thought it was like just a big mosquito bite, but by the time I got to Rio Branco and then eventually the airport, my leg was really swollen, and I got home and it had just broken out everywhere with like ulcers all over my leg and my arms and my neck. And yeah, it was really challenging, man. And I lost a lot of weight and everything. My stomach, my digestion was messed up. So it was a real challenging physical experience. And I eventually had to take antibiotics. I really held out as long as I could, but that, going back to Western medicine, that was a moment I was really, really grateful for Western medicine because everything went away very quickly, but yeah, that was there. That was a deep struggle for sure. And that integration back into the real world where I was having physical struggles and then still, leading my business and contributing in that way, I was really tested. It was really a challenging period.
Wow. I know I saw the picture of you and when you made the announcement on Facebook and I followed that, and I think I sent you a message during that time. And it was like, I'm thinking to myself, like, not only are you integrating to coming back to civilization, you are now very, very sick. And did your dog and wife get sick too?
Yeah, that was like the next test. Me going to the jungle in and of itself, there was a concern. There was concern that I would go and get something and bring it back and get my wife sick. And my wife has had some health struggles over the years. So, she's always trying to protect herself and eat right and take the right supplements. So when I came back and I had E. coli and MRSA and, I was around her, it was just me and her and our dog and they both got sick.
Oh.
So like there was this, and we live like an hour away from all our friends. It's just us. So we were just really sitting with that, sitting with me feeling shame and regret and, her feeling some anger about the situation, like you went to the jungle, you said you we're going to bring anything back and you got me sick and here I am. And then I saw my dog like struggling and couldn't get down the stairs. And I'm just like, wow, what did I do? So I really had to sit with all that and learn to acknowledge what was happening and accept it. And also at the same time, like get myself back up, get myself back up and get things right again and take responsibility for it and make it right and be firm, really be honest with myself. So it was one of the things they said in the jungle too, that so many things that keep coming true. They said, just because you're leaving here, it doesn't mean like your diet is ending. Like you're going to have more trainings, you're going to have more understandings about yourself. And this was part of it, this other test. And when I was dealing with all that, the shame and the guilt of coming back and getting sick and the troubles with integrating, a lot of the emotional struggles that I had growing up started to come back. So I grew up with severe depression, severe anxiety, all through my childhood, middle school, high school, college, after college. Like it never went away. It was my natural state. And I had a major shift in my life. I had like an aha moment and I started looking at myself and I felt better, and I started reading different books and meditating and eating a different way, and started loving myself. And then so I thought I was gone from all that. I thought I was gone from depression and emotional struggles. But when I came back from the jungle, all of that came back, and it came back like stronger than I've ever felt before. And like a lot of darkness, a lot of subconscious beliefs that I was feeling that really pushed me to the edge of my comfort zone, so to speak. And sitting with that and still being present, still being, like I say, like integrating the world, still being firm, leading the company, being a husband, being a good friend, being a good brother. I was still challenged with that, so it was training me in a major way spiritually, like how I want to show up. I was still attempting my best as I could to be strong, and eventually we got through it and healed up, and now I feel great. Now I feel like I've put the resistance on the bar, I've done the squats, and I came back and I'm stronger for it, so to speak. That's not to say like these challenges in my life won't happen again, because they will. Life is like we said, it's uncertain. There's going to be all kinds of challenges, and nothing ever stays the same. But I'm really grateful to have gone through that training and still go through the trainings that I go through now to prepare me to better integrate who I am into this world. But yeah, that period after was one of the most challenging periods of my life, for sure.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I know, I'm sure quite a few people listening like are or have experienced trials and tribulations and challenging times. Like when you were in the thick of it, you've got your dog sick, your wife's mad, you're sick, you're integrating, your business is probably getting behind. Like, how did you take it minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day? Like, did you play small games in your head with like little wins and accomplishments? Like, you're sick, you're laying there like healing, and people are upset, and like, what was the step by step? Because I'm thinking of it from like the macro level. Like, it's not just fast forward 60 days and Chad's better and life is great. Like, there's a lot of micro steps. Like, was there anything like, if this were to happen to you again today, like what would you be reminding yourself of in terms of like steps to help you get through that?
So it's one thing that kept coming up when you were talking and asking that question. It was more of a mantra, and it's just a mantra of trust. Just trust. Have faith. Just trust, and feel that state of trust in my body, and that's the best way I can describe it. And there's more like of a state of consciousness that comes with trust, and it's saying like everything's okay. And the things that I want to have happen, letting go of them. And saying it's okay if this thing happens, and it's okay if it doesn't. So learning to let go and but still take action, I think, is more than anything else. And the step-by-step things, to me, it all comes down to anchoring myself in these daily practices, in these habits that I know full and well will get me strong again, like journaling, so I really got into journaling and practicing journaling on things that I appreciate about myself, to like start with self-love. And then to journal on ways that I'm giving to others, ways that I'm serving my community and my friends and my business. And then journaling on ways that I'm receiving, what am I getting from the giving that I'm doing, and what am I getting without even asking for it? Like noticing the abundance that's in my life, and then journaling on my dreams, and where I want to go despite where I am, making that my intention. So journaling, meditation, breath work, practicing the music, staying anchored in that. Those are and still keeping up with fitness, and I'm also big into, I have a men's group I meet with every 2 weeks. And that group was incredibly powerful for me to come back in this world and find support. It's another thing I think is missing in our culture is circles. Is open circles where we can communicate vulnerably and provide safe spaces for people to share what they're going through. So all those things are really kind of the step-by-step thing, but the big overlying message that I was learning to tell myself was just trust. Trust.
You're surrendering.
Surrendering.
But I like, Chad, that you put surrendering, but taking action.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a big but.
It's totally different.
And there's a huge difference there, because truly just surrendering and not taking action is feeling pity for yourself and Debbie Downer and you're not moving forward. You're just there hoping someone else will make it better for you. You said surrender, but take action.
Yeah, surrendered action is a term I keep saying to myself, like take surrendered action. It's interesting. I remember the first time I ever, going back to OPT, OPEX, and James Fitzgerald. I remember the first time I heard of him. He was coaching Brett Marshall through Fran.
Yeah.
Right. Second round. And on the second round, when after doing 21 thrusters and 21 pull-ups, he said to him, recover.
Yep.
He said, recover. And I was like, what does he mean, like recover? Because I had done Fran. I was like, this is so hard. But he was talking about still moving, still taking action, but to do so in like a surrendered state, and it's there. And as an athlete, I remember feeling that, I remember like on a mile run where it started to hurt so bad. There's one place I could go or another place I could go when it starts to hurt. I could go, it starts to hurt. I'm like, I'm going to slow down, or I'm just going to accept this. And there's a transcendence. It's like, you can go faster and run smoother and accept what's happening. And that's the spiritual magic that happens in fitness, but it also happens like in all these other things that we're talking about, so like that surrendered action thing is how can I still be feeling what I'm feeling, but still show up and do this Facebook Live or this company call, or have this conversation with my wife, or check in on a level like that is everything. How I choose to be and to accept the things that are happening, but show up with strength, show up with firmness, show up with love, and that to me is like it's one of the key things I've learned from my time in the jungle and really throughout my life. And I continue to learn more and more about that one thing,
I really like hearing you bring up like self-love and like self-care. I know as a guy, males generally don't pay a lot of attention to that. It's about just, I'm tough, I'm a guy, I don't need that, that's dorky, but then when we look at the average male walking around that's quite sick, right? Beer belly, inactive, no goals, no dreams, no hope, right? I think we need to we can use the word surrender and take action here with more self-care, time spent on you, eating healthy, moving, sleeping, self-love. Like, are you understanding when you do take, let's say action A, is it an asset or a liability to your body and well-being, right? And more of that awareness, especially, and I'm just speaking from a male perspective, I think that needs to be a conversation that's being had, because at our gym, we've got at least 70% female. And out of those that are married or in a relationship, they want their husbands or partners here. And it's the guy that's like, I don't need this. I'm fine. I'm strong. I used to be the football quarterback. I can still do a pull-up. I could still kick his ass. It's that ego that we're not letting go of. And I think more men need to take more self-responsibility for self-care and self-love. I think that would be huge.
I think, yes, it's the core thing. And I think women are much better at that stuff than men, and men are more in their head. And there is an ego that I think is more entrenched in the male population than the female. And I say that as a man, I acknowledge that mine is there, and I think in our culture, we keep kind of defining the differences between like maybe an indigenous culture and a modern culture, and like I said, a different way we eat and move, where we live. But there's also like this understanding of love. In our culture, we have conditional love. Our parents kind of start this story. It's like we start getting shown love when we accomplish something. I will love you if you do this. I will love you when this happens. I will love you if you do what I say what I want you to do. And we kind of eventually end up doing that to ourselves too. Like, I will love myself. I will kind of acknowledge the goodness in me, or the things I appreciate about myself when this happens, when I achieve that goal, when I make enough money, when I get that house or something. But it's conditional love. We're trained conditionally to love. And like, my dog loves me unconditionally. It doesn't matter what I do all day. Like, my dog loves me if I make money, if I don't make money, if I run fast or run slow, I could be in a wheelchair. My dog would still love me unconditionally. But we don't do that to ourselves, So I've been learning a lot about like what that is for me. And and noticing the voice inside of my head that is will judge me and say I'm not enough and compare myself and limit me in terms of my own happiness. And I'm getting more present as to what that voice, how it feels, the way it thinks, the way it feels inside of me, the emotions it has, the words it tends to want to speak, you know, and how that was imprinted in me at the very beginning, you know, very, very early, how it's impacted my whole life. So self-appreciation is like one of the greatest practices, spiritual practices I can give myself to help me appreciate all the aspects of myself that are pretty cool, you know, like my kindness and my courage and my resiliency. There's a great, you know, what you focus on, it grows. What you appreciate appreciates. So if you appreciate the things that are awesome about yourself, those things will continue to grow, and you'll start thinking about those things and feeling those things and creating that world. But to me, it's primary.
Jordan Peterson talks about this in his book, the 12 Rules for Life, where we spend more on our pets, you know, health than we do on our own, or we're more apt to fill a prescription and hand out the prescription to the pet more accurately than we are with ourselves. We're putting more attention and effort and money in many cases on our animals than ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's very interesting to me.
It is interesting. Yeah. Because we love those pets.
You don't love yourself.
Yeah. I mean, when we really are loving ourselves, you know, it's easier to make good decisions about our health. It's easier to go to the gym and do the breath work because we know it's going to make us feel good and we know we deserve it. Yep. You know, so yeah, a lot of the actions we take, they come down to self-love, you know, and when we're not loving ourselves, we'll end up, you know, eating Cheetos and watching Netflix and saying, this is what the way it is for me.
Yes.
You know, it's just the way it is for me. Nothing I can do.
Oh man, that's powerful, Chad. Yeah. I was listening to Dr. Rick Hansen talk about this, and he gave a drill or this activity to people to try, and it had a profound impact, and it was impossible for many people to even do for the first few attempts, was to look in the mirror and say, I love you, and then your name. So I look in the mirror and I love you, Josh. And like sit there and absorb that. That was something that he has been doing years of work with clients on, you know, from multiple different angles. But that one drill had a profound impact on people, on how they view themselves over the long term. And he was very surprised, and so was I, how hard that was for people to actually do.
Yeah.
That gives us a pretty big eye-opening moment there, right?
It's really hard to do because we're trained to judge ourselves. You know, we're always comparing ourselves to others, and there's lots of judgments, and typically the things that we're judging others for so strongly, that's because we just have the same voice inside of our heads judging ourselves on those things. You know, and sometimes it can be like appear to be really good, and maybe it is because there's a lot of good things that can come out of that sometimes, but sometimes there can also be things that like aren't so good. So that's the power of awareness, is like notice these things and choose how the relationship we want to have with ourselves.
I've integrated two big things into my life that have had a profound impact with this, and this is positive affirmations. So starting my day off with your, you know, happy, healthy, and wealthy, right? Or I am strong and fast, or and it could be anything for that day that attracts me to wanting to say that about myself that's positive. So I will frequent certain phrases throughout the day that bring me back to center with that. You know, the breath work has been really, really big for being conscious, you know, in terms of just being present and not too focused on other things. But the combination of those have been pretty large for me. So yeah.
Yeah, the mantras and the things to put up on your mirror and look at it every day and do it. It's just like anything else, right? It just takes repetition. It takes repetition and refining things, making adjustments, but habitually saying something and thinking something over and over again, it eventually creates a new neural pathway.
Yes.
And when that new neural pathway happens, then the nervous system gets to be retrained by consciousness.
Yep.
And that's the magic of the humans, that we can train our nervous system through our consciousness, and we can train it to love ourselves.
Yes.
And all the cells start coming online and really like it a lot better and start working better when we love ourselves. But it's also acknowledging, yes, there's a big part of me that does not love myself. It actually hates me. It judges me all the time. It's always saying I'm not good enough. And subconscious beliefs, I think that they have to be brought up. They have to be brought to the light and look at them, acknowledge they're there, and then find out what they need, because they typically need to hear something. So getting clear on that type of work, I think, is so powerful.
In addition to those two things, I have removed news or negative broadcast. That I think is a constant in people's life, a constant fear-based negative implementation that's being inputted into us. Where now, and I've done this for quite a while now, if my mind says, watch the news or click on this depressing YouTube video or whatever, I will reverse it back to what can you watch, listen to, or do that will benefit you in a positive manner. And
balance it out.
Yeah, totally. And man, that's done wonders, because you can go down a dark, dark alley, especially let's look at today's world, right?
Yeah.
If you just watch COVID videos and updates and fear and death and stats and mutations and breakthrough cases and all these words that people, the outlets use to attract you to continue to follow that path and to elevate views online. That's a nasty place to be. So I try to, I just say try, I do, I opt out. I just have other things to put my energy in,
Yeah, it's a good move. I mean, nothing in the news today is doing anything but helping me worry.
Yeah.
It's just, and I do check it every now and then, but I try to just check it in a batched environment where, because I do want to know what's going on, but I don't want to be too caught up in it, but I just want to be aware of it. But I do notice that, like, if I check on it, it's in anything on the news and the back and forth on Facebook, I've noticed I feel worry. Yeah. And going back to that feeling of how I was in the jungle, where it was just like calm, it makes me aware of how far away this is from my natural state, where it really wants to be. Yeah. So it's such a big aha, the natural state most people are in. And the algorithm is like saying, oh, you like things that make you worry. Oh, we're going to give you even more. So we're going to give, we're going to give you all kinds of things to be scared about. Oh, you think this side is right and that side's wrong? Here you go. We're going to reinforce that even more. We're not going to get you opening your mind and thinking about other perspectives. There's division, because that's what gets your attention, and we are the product. They're selling our attention. And I work in the online world, so I'm very aware of how this algorithm works and clicks and opens, and how narratives can be created, and how it's being used to divide us and disconnect us and keep our attention and to brainwash us. So I'm really cautious of all that. And that's why I try to sit by a tree as much as I can. As hippie as that sounds, that tends to I get more clarity from that.
Totally. Yeah, that was great. Wow. So I know we have about 8 more minutes here. We're going to respect your time that you're giving us today. I have some random questions I end every episode with.
Yes.
So here we go. What are 1 to 3 books that have had a big influence on your life?
So this is great, because the first two that it would be The Power of Now and A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, which was part of James Fitzgerald's recommended read list on that OPT website, right? When I mentioned I had a major aha shift in my moment, it was when I first listened to The Power of Now. Like it was that powerful for me, and because he talked about this voice in his head that was an ego that was always labeling and judging, and I was like, what do you mean you have a voice in your? And I started noticing I have a voice in my head. And when I listened, because I listened to it when I was driving around doing home health physical therapy, I listened to it 20 times in a row. nonstop, nothing but that. Went very deep into that book and that study. And then I found out there was a New Earth book, and I did the same thing there. I listened to that one like maybe 30 times. So those two were big, huge books for me. And the other one I would say would be The Four Agreements, by Don Miguel Ruiz. And such an easy, simple book, but like profound, absolutely profound. And he does a great job of talking about domestication and what I was saying about conditional love versus unconditional love. And it fits in line with what I'm seeing with health and living with indigenous cultures. And so those three books would be it.
Yeah, and those three are on my bookshelf.
Nice.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, if you could put up a road sign anywhere, what would it say and why?
The first thing that comes to mind is this too shall pass. I just love the awareness of impermanence. It's like a Buddhist principle. It's also in the Bible. But noticing, like, if I'm going through a bad time, it's okay. It's eventually going to pass. And if I'm going through a really wonderful time, being grateful for it, because it's going to go too. And just being grateful for my body, being grateful for my dog. I always look at my dog and I'm like, this dog, this beautiful golden doodle, one day will not be here. Yeah. I'm looking at this bundle of fur and these molecules and atoms, and I'm like, one day it's just gonna, and so will I. So that understanding makes me, part of it, I feel a little sadness, but it also makes me really grateful and appreciative for the opportunity to experience life. Yeah,
I love that. Do you have a favorite failure of yours?
Favorite failure? I mean, so I will go into singing, so singing has been like a real test of my courage. And when I was in the jungle, I was finally given the opportunity by the chief of the tribe to pull out my guitar and sing one of their songs in front of them. And I was so scared. It was me in front of like 40 y'all at once. And I've been studying these songs, and here's my chance to play. And I was so bad. I was so bad and so off key and so off rhythm. But I was really proud of myself for doing it. And it really sparked a light inside of me to keep going and practicing music and practicing my voice. And now I'm so grateful for that experience. I failed miserably in the performance, but it gave me a lot of motivation to get better.
And you had the courage to try it.
The courage to try it. Yeah, I think that's a big distinction too. Cus D'Amato, Mike Tyson's coach, he always talks about the distinction between the hero and the coward and how they both feel the same thing. They both feel fear. It's what they do with the fear that divides them, right? So the hero feels the fear and does the thing anyway and goes on to create a great story and share it. The coward feels the fear and runs away in his cave and hides and doesn't come out. Yeah. And so those are dividing points, I think. So fear, like what you said, even though you feel fear, you get on the stage to speak because you tell yourself to do it anyway, practicing that courage muscle. I think all those failures, even though that happened, just do it again. Just do it again. Make the adjustment, make the repetition happen, and then make and get better. So I appreciate the failures, and I'm grateful for a bad performance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Two more questions. If you could give listeners one piece of advice that would improve the quality of their life, what would it be?
I would say, I would say journal. Yeah, I would say journal on things that you appreciate about yourself, and just really sit with that. Like literally write out things I appreciate about myself, ... and just fill in the rest of the page. And it's okay if that's challenging, if that's hard. Just get present to the fact that there's something inside of you that does not want to appreciate yourself, but give yourself time. Think about the things that you've done for others. Think about the skills and the attributes and the characteristics you have about yourself, and just start appreciating all the wonderful things about you, your kindness, your compassion, your strength, your resiliency, whatever it is about you that you can appreciate. Like really just take time to do that. And that begins to plant a seed of self-appreciation. And from that place, you can create your life, but that to me is a foundation.
Boy, I've never been told that before. Someone's answered it that way.
Yeah.
Journaling, yes, but you took it farther. And I think that is great. Journaling about things that you love about yourself.
Yeah. And it's not being cocky or conceited. Sure. You're not saying you're better than anybody. At all. You're just focusing on who you are as your character, the spiritual side of you. Like, what are the things that you appreciate about yourself?
Wow,
Yeah.
so great. All right, finally, how can listeners learn more about you and your coaching services? I know that you have, you help clients, whether it's through coaching, supplements, bundle packages. You have a great website, I know. Can you share all your info? Because I know there will be people interested
Yeah.
in obtaining some products, possibly, coaching, whatever it is.
For sure. Yeah, I'm not doing any coaching right now. Most of it is in program format, and it's really all free. But yeah, NativePath.com is where you can find more about our company and what we've created. My friend Chris and I, who's now my business partner, and I love him to death. We have this amazing company with a wonderful team and an amazing community. But NativePath.com, you can find out more about all the great supplements we have. And on there, we also have like a 21-day breathing course that you can go through, like all free, follow along videos where I'll teach you like all these different great breathing techniques. There's videos that you can follow to fix any pain you may be having in your body. So if you have like shoulder pain or neck pain or back pain, there's specific programs that you can do all for free, like follow along videos, like two-week programs to fix your neck pain or back pain. There's workout programs with follow along videos. We have a private community just look for NativePath private community on Facebook. There's like 40,000 people in there. It's amazing. It's like, it's the best place in all of Facebook. You would never know there's bad things or whatever we would call as bad things happening in the world. People are just really happy and encouraging everybody in there. So that's the place to go. Yeah. And stay connected. We have a great newsletter where we're always putting out information about health and things that you can do to keep yourself healthy and happy.
Awesome. Chad, thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
This has been a lot of fun. Hopefully the listeners got some good content out of that. We've been friends for almost 14 years now. So I look forward to future conversations and growth together and, really exciting things in the future. I'm very optimistic. So thank you for your time.
Absolutely, man. Thank you again for reaching out. I enjoyed seeing you, and I hadn't seen you in so long, and talking to you. And it's good to see you're just still doing it, man. You're just still out there contributing and serving and having a podcast where you're sharing all these ideas and bringing these thoughts to more people. So just thank you for doing that, man. I really want to acknowledge you.
Awesome. Chad, I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. Talk soon.
Have a good one.